Brainerd.
I'd like to call the Bloomington Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order for Thursday, January 14th, 2021. Okay, we need to have a roll call. So Dee?
Okay, Doug Bruce. Sam DeSaller.
Here.
Susan Dyer.
Here.
Jeff Golden.
Here.
Deb Hutton. Bernard Cross. John Sanders.
Here.
Chris Sturbaum.
Here.
Duncan Campbell. Ernesto Castaneda. Derek Ritchie. Jenny Southern.
Here.
There she goes. All right, great, thank you. We have been distributed the minutes from our last meeting on December 10th, and so I need to have a motion to approve those.
Move to approve.
So moved.
Chris, and do we have a second?
I'll second. That's Sam.
Thank you, Sam. All right, Dee, we need a roll.
Sam DeSaller.
Yeah.
Susan Dyer.
Stain.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Deb Hutton. Oh, Deb's not here. Bernard Cross. John Saunders.
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, let's move on.
Hey, Dee, are you getting Renard's audio at all? I haven't heard.
No, not at all.
Okay, Renard, can you unmute and then? Okay, I'm asking you to unmute now.
Okay.
There you go.
Great, thank you, Bernard.
So Dee, Renard is present at the meeting. And then Renard, do you vote to approve the minutes?
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, Dee, could you please record that?
Okay, so it was 5-0. No, I'm sorry, 5-2-1.
All right, thank you, Dee. All right, let's move on to COA review, COA 21-01.
So this is 511 West 4th Street in the Greater Prospect Hill Historic District. It's this building here. It's currently an apartment building called Prospect Hill Place. The request was for the installation of a dormer on the west facing roof. The dormer will be 12 foot wide and identical to an existing dormer that you see here that was approved by the HPC back in 2015. So staff approved that project with the following comments. The new dormer will actually be less visible from the public right away than the dormer that was approved in 2015. It's the same size, it's essentially the same design. So staff found no reason to deny this or send it to the commission. So this is a staff approval.
Thank you, Connor. Okay, let's move on to commission review. And we'll start off with the COA 21-02, 916 South Morton Street.
So this is a contributing structure in the McDowell Historic District. It's a front gable bungalow built around 1920. These changes that you're seeing now are part of an interior remodel that the structure is undergoing. The request is to replace 3 steel basement windows there. You see on this elevation here, on the south elevation with vinyl windows, not changing the opening sizes. They're gonna demolish the 2 chimneys on the structure here. They're gonna be replacing this coal chute with a window and coal chute and the window is going to provide some more light into there. They're going to be replacing 7 of these single pane wood sashes. This is a mudroom back here. They're going to be replacing these windows in the mudroom with aluminum clad wood windows of the same size and pane configuration. And they're going to be replacing this door here to the mudroom with a door that looks like this. It's going to go from a quarter light to a half light, or sorry, from a half light to a quarter light window. There's no guidance on chimneys in the McDowell guidelines. For windows, it says it's acceptable to replace windows as long as you don't change the pane and size, pane configuration and the size of the windows. So it's okay, that's good here. And it's acceptable to replace doors as long as you're not changing the size of the original as well. So staff finds that the 3 steel basement windows are a neat feature and they're still operable. I got down there and helped crank one of them open actually, but they're pretty rusted. They're in poor condition. Same goes for the coal chute. So really replacing those with new windows will not really visually alter the structure as seen from the B line, and it really increase the livability of the home. The brick chimneys are not a character defining feature of the home, and the HPC is generally supported for moving chimneys on contributing homes in local districts in the past. So staff finds that is fine. The windows in the mudroom will retain the same size and paint configuration, which is recommended in the guidelines. Although the door will have less glass, staff supports that due to privacy concerns that stem from heavy foot traffic along the rear alleyway there. So having a little less visibility into the home there would definitely increase livability for the new owners as well. So staff would recommend approval of COA 2102 as is.
Barry, you're with us. Do you have any additional information?
Hi, Barry Clapper from Spring Point Architects, and I'm here this evening with Wayne and Dee Dee Poole to answer any questions that you might have. These folks are very excited about this new property that they've purchased, that they're perched above the Beeline Trail, and they're very much enjoying this location. They have, since they have been working in the house and staying over in the house, they have noticed how much foot traffic there is down the alley that's behind the house that goes behind Distillery. And so part of this request is indeed changing out this back door. And I just wanted to offer another bit of information. And it's really the concern, it's more of a security concern, less than visual privacy, that somebody could easily break a door such as the one that is here and reach in and unlock it. So not only is it really privacy, but it's also security as well that has motivated us to ask to make this request. So thank you, Connor, for your report, and we're happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
All right, thank you, Barry. Chris, do you have any questions?
Not about the changes, but I'm just curious if you're going to paint the siding or anything like that.
So this is really the first phase of a larger project. It's our hope that once the new UDO map is adopted, that the zoning of this area will be changed, because right now residential is non-conforming use. It's in the employment zone, this little stretch. And so it's being proposed to change that will allow residential. So the owners are hoping to do an addition, a master addition in the near future. And so we will be back in front of you to talk about that addition, as well as other changes to the exterior, including paint. So yes.
Cool. And did we look at this when someone else was thinking of doing a larger project with demolition for this project, or am I thinking of something else?
No, you're correct, Chris. This came before the HPC for a COA for demolition, I believe, maybe last November or something. And it was
And I
denied.
think we said no, right?
Correct, it was denied.
This is a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, thank you. Jeff, do you have questions?
I do not.
All right. Susan? Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have.
All right, thank you, Susan. Sam, have you got questions?
No questions.
All right, thank you, Sam. Renard, do you have any questions?
I'm just curious, why are you taking down the chimneys?
Right now, they are performing an interior remodel, and part of that is really opening up the inside so that it lives in a different way than it did in its sort of discrete rooms. So it's really related to the new layout of the walls.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Renard. I don't have any questions.
Hey, I'm here, John, I'm here now.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Deb. Have you got any questions concerning this COA?
Yeah, for D, I arrived at 5:05. And my question is regarding the chimneys also. When the chimneys are removed, is the roof simply going to be patched in those two places?
At this time, they will be. I can't speak to any further changes we may propose to the roof when we come back before you, hopefully sometime this spring, dealing with the exterior and a master addition and garage.
Perfect. Any more questions?
I had a quick question.
Yes, Jenny.
Yes, I was wondering, are they going to finish the basement or is that staying a basement?
So it will not be finished, but it will be nice utility space. So I think that they're planning to have the laundry and some workout space down there. So it will be habitable, but not in the sense of like sleeping rooms or anything like that.
Okay. I was just wondering because when I replaced my hatch windows, I was at first unhappy and actually switched windows again.
Oh, really?
Because the new ones I bought only kind of opened halfway and you actually couldn't get out of them in case of fire. So if they were actually going to be down there, I would think, something with a hinge all the way at the top or something when they're replaced, just for safety, if they are going to replace them.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Jenny. Let's move on to comments. Chris, have you got any comments?
What's the question?
Do you have any comments, Chris?
Oh, no, I approve of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have any comments?
I'm also going to support this COA.
Thank you. Deb?
Fine as is, thank you.
All right. Susan?
I'm agreeing with them.
All right. Sam?
Looks good.
Terrific. Renard?
Support it.
Excellent. Jenny? Any comments? All right, thank you. I don't have any comments.
I thought of a comment.
Yeah, Chris?
Just a reminder that our decisions have real consequences. And now someone is finding a home that they really want to live in right on the B line. That may influence other property decisions along the B line. And just pleased to see someone finding a home like this and a happy ending.
Yes, same here.
Well, this is Wayne and Dee Dee, the owners, and we agree with you. We are very pleased. We appreciate your support through this. And Barry, thank you very much as well for help leading these efforts, and Connor.
Thank you.
And Wayne, I still have to get you that book on the window repair. Don't think I forgot you.
No problem at all. I've got plenty to do. Keep me busy.
All right.
Move to approve COA 21-02.
Second.
All right. B?
Okay, Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Jeff Golden,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes,
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Barry. And
Okay,
thank you,
take care.
You too.
Okay, be well, everyone.
Thank you.
Well done.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's move on to COA 2103, 620 South Valentine.
So this property is located in the Elm Heights Local Historic District. It's actually rated as outstanding. The building was even listed in the very first local historic survey published in 1978, which has about a fifth of the properties that the current survey has. So I find it kind of distinguished in that matter. Just a little background on the case. One of the commissioners alerted me that some work was going on here. They saw that there was stucco that had been removed from these columns on the front and back. And so I contacted the owner, which is Sean Urton. I believe he's here with us tonight, that this needed a COA, figure out what's going on. And so this COA and this review now is kind of a result of talking with Sean and kind of working through this project. So there's kind of a few things going on here. They want to resurface the concrete porch here with, Sean called it bluestone, but he said it was a type of limestone. This is an example of it here over to your right. He's going to resurface the porch and the front walkway with that stone. He would also like to kind of add a dry stack wall here to face the steps of the porch, as you can kind of see in this drawing here. He wants to, and the same is going for the back porch. So on the back porch, it's kind of an identical setup with the same columns, 3 columns there. This is the back, the rear of the house. So he wants again to, dry stack the face of these steps and put bluestone on the porch. He is also requesting to remove the stucco retroactively that he already removed. As you can see here, we just have brick columns. So removing that stucco is part of the request. He wants to, this is the south elevation here. It's gotten obviously the most weather and most worn. I think I have some better photographs of it. A lot of these shingles are kind of, they're cupping, they're thinning. So they're pretty worn out and past their lifespan. And so the request is to replace these shingles, or I think they're cedar shakes actually, with new cedar shakes. And then for the rest of them on the house, just stain them with this stain. It was in your packet. I can't remember the exact specification of the stain. It's a lighter brown color. So that's a lot, I know. My comments are that I support the replacement of the shingles on this elevation due to their poor condition. I think it's important that he needs to match all the shingles in the same stain color, if that's even possible. I don't know if you can get the old weathered shingles that you are keeping the same color as new shingles that you're adding and staining. That's going to be kind of tricky. So maybe the HPC has some advice for that. But I don't find replacing worn shingles much of an issue. Although I do want to say that what makes this house outstanding is the fact that it still retains its original siding material, which are those cedar shakes, those shingles. And I don't find that putting the limestone on the porch or the walkways is really an issue. They're just plain concrete, so I don't find a problem with that. I actually don't support removing the stucco from the columns, and I'll tell you why. At first, I thought that the kind of stucco might have been a later addition, just slapped on there in the 80s or 90s or something like that. However, thanks to Jenny and some of her research and my own, I found out that it's actually called, there's a term for it here, it's called Pebble dash. And that's what was on this. And I found examples. This is a picture from 2015 when the Pebble dash stucco was still on those columns. This is from a 1925 Sears Roebuck catalog and has Pebble dash on its columns as well. You can see it's kind of a similar style of house there. So Pebble dash is a coarse plaster surface, consists of lime and cement mixed with sand, small gravel, and pebbles or shells. Sometimes you'll find colored glass in there as well to make it more decorative. The National Park Service Preservation Brief on Stucco also talks about Pebble dash and said that it's associated with period or revival styles of early 20th century. And it's most often found on bungalow style homes. So, to me, it probably was, looking now, an original feature on these columns. So I necessarily wouldn't support removing that pebble dash, since part of the reason this house was rated outstanding was because it still retained the shake siding and the pebble dash on the columns and other original features, the windows as well. So staff would recommend partial approval of COA 2103, everything but the removal of the pebble dash stucco.
Perfect. Thank you, Connor. And Sean, you're with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Do you have any additional information before my questions?
Don't believe so. I guess we just need to at least have additional conversation about the columns.
Okay, great. Thank you. Chris, do you have any questions?
I don't have questions. Well, let's see. How do you finish gracefully the bluestone and the wrapping of the porch and keeping the columns? How does that all work together?
So
You just cut around the columns, I suppose.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
You're just going to cut around the columns and mortar in around them?
Correct. Yeah, it's all set on a sand base. The stone that we're using isn't exactly what's in the photos that Connor has, but it's a very good representation of it. It's actually a little bit lighter, and it is, bluestone is basically a Pennsylvania Eastern Coast slate, and this is more of a limestone that's brought in. And it has light shades of green and a little bit of light shades of gray in it as well. So that is laid on a sand base. All the edges would be mortared. We would actually do dry stack retaining walls to cover all the front facade.
Oh, that's a planter you're creating with the dry stack?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay, that's clever.
Mm-hmm. And then we would actually replace the concrete steps with like BG Hoadley split face steps, limestone. Those would be Indiana limestone.
Mm-hmm.
So the walls are Indiana limestone or Monroe County limestone, basically. The steps are Monroe County limestone. But we need the limestone that I'm wanting to put on to resurface everything. It's thinner. It's about a 1 inch because we don't have we have threshold issues. And if we're using like a 2 1/4, 2 1/2, something like that in an irregular, we're not going to be able to accomplish it with the thresholds.
And you didn't want to use local limestone because it isn't as hard or something?
Well, it's not as hard, but it's the issue of it's not correct. It's not as hard as the limestone that we're proposing, and in a thinner application, it's absolutely, it's probably going to break. I'm a landscape contractor by trade, so we do a lot of patios out of it, and it's mainly in 2 1/4 to 2 1/2 inch in that thickness, which is the best for like a patio application. I have threshold issues, and it's above my threshold. So that's the problem with it.
Right. And my only other question is, straight cut steps might be more appropriate than that split face step. And I wonder what your thought is on that.
We could do either. I think the split face is a better look.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Jeff, questions?
I just have a question about the columns, and it's more for Connor, or maybe for the property owner. But so if we don't approve the column part of that, is it reasonable that he can put it back, those antique finishes?
I don't know I looked into it a little bit today, just briefly, not seriously, on how Pebble Dash was installed, and it seemed pretty straightforward, pretty easy. They said they had one guy laying the stucco on there, another guy throwing this Pebble Dash mixture aggregate at it. So it wasn't anything super fancy or complicated.
Okay, that's my only question. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Deb, questions?
Me?
Yes, Deb?
Thanks. Yes, also about the columns. Since they've been, well, first of all, the brick that I'm looking at for each of the 6 columns, that's the original structure of the columns, right? So does the original structure that we're looking at, does it need to be fixed up, strengthened in any way before the pepper dash is put back on it?
Sean, what's your opinion on the structural integrity of the columns as is?
Can we back up to a little bit of the history with these columns? Would you mind?
Go
Is
for
that
it.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we purchased the property, there's actually pretty much all of the corners from the weight. They have, I hate to say failed because I think they've really restabilized themselves. So part of the actual resurfacing of the concrete is because there's lots of breaks in the concrete, and basically we're going to, improve the aesthetics by going over it. I probably will get like maybe Kevin Potter or somebody to come by and check, but I don't think there's continued settling from the columns, but we'll probably get a professional opinion on that just because that's not, I mean, he's more knowledgeable than I am with that. So, but kind of what led to it is there were several, so not only the columns, you can actually see it in that picture there where a lot of these corners have cracked. The actual stucco on several of the back sides were also basically in need of pretty significant repair. You could actually see the brick through it in several spots. So that's kind of what led us, and apparently I made the wrong assumption, but I made the wrong assumption according to Connor. But I'm still under the feeling that there's a very good chance that this was the original. There's a lot of, so Connor and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago to see if there was maybe even a limestone column underneath an original kind of milled limestone column underneath or behind the brick. And I really didn't, I was able to look in some places, but as I was getting into it, it was really going to take dismantling some of the brick to be able to find the limestone, and I knew I was not going to be able to find any brick to be able to match that. But actually all of these brick, I mean, to me, if it was just a base for the stucco, it wouldn't have been done as well as it was done. Almost every one of these brick have single cuts, have, triangle shapes. They're fit well. You can even see some old tuck points, like clean tuck pointing on the brick. So I'm still of the feeling that this stucco was added at some point, because I feel like the brick just looks too good to have not been an original. And you can see that, and the reason that kind of led to the thought of if there was a milled limestone, basically column behind it, is each one of these brick columns has a limestone cap. You can see it on the top there. And the ephes was actually almost coming out past the edges of the limestone cap, which to me also kind of signified that it was added on. And they were just extremely wide. They were basically 3 inches thickness, which is adding 6 inches of material to that brick. And it just to me still feels like it was an add-on. I obviously should have not have taken that liberty, but I guess we just got carried away when we thought all the brick was the original, and in the process of taking off the damage, we ended up taking off the rest. So that's 100% on me, but I'm still not convinced that they are not the original. And in my opinion, they look a lot better with the house. The houses around it have very similar brick, and the houses that have the cedar shake have a very similar brick as well too.
Thank you.
Sure. Sorry to be long-winded.
That's all right. Thank you, Susan. Or thank you, Deb. Susan, have you got questions?
I don't.
All right, thank you. Sam?
No questions.
Jenny?
Yeah, I do have questions. The stain he was going to use, it looks like up under the eaves, it was left as maybe a clear stain or a natural. You can see up under the roof line, see how light it is. So I was wondering if the stain he's going to use, is it those solid stains like they have now, or is it a clear stain, or what are we talking about?
Can I chime in?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we've actually, it's a solid, we've actually given a semi-solid and a solid. So primarily what we're looking at, because a lot of the cedar, we want to keep as much of the cedar as possible, but it has a lot of staining. It's going to be, I think, very difficult to clean and not damage it and get rid of the staining. So we were looking at putting, Connor mentioned a brown, but it's a gray. So we've given two choices of a light gray for the cedar. And we're not opposed to doing, we really think all the windows we basically kind of planned on doing a neutral color, which we're open to, to your guys' suggestions. And we can do whatever you want with the top of the porches as well. We're not opposed to, but I think it's going to need a solid on it because it's pretty worn.
Okay. I came by today. I think I probably just missed you guys and knocked on the door and stuff.
Okay.
It appears to me the columns are set, and this is a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
The columns seem to be set separately from the main floor of the porches. And I think maybe they have a deeper footer, and the porch has sank and shifted, but I'm not sure your footer's under your columns. You might not be as alarmed as you think you are if you look closely. I think they have a deeper footer than the slab and stuff. I also think if you look at this corner, closest corner we're looking at in the picture right now, that this has been resurfaced as concrete before. I can actually see a couple of spots where the concrete has lifted in kind of maybe an inch thick layer at this corner. So that probably is why your thresholds are a little low on the doors, is because it has been resurfaced before. I was wondering how are you going to, some of those floors are really off, and they might continue to move because they look like they've been, like I said, resurfaced, redone before. So are you going to like remove part of the floor that's there and leave the columns in place and re-pour it? And my other question is, in front of these columns, both the front and back, where you were planning to put your little limestone walls, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see there's a step there that went all the way across to the edge of the pillar. Yeah, and it looked like a monolithic pour to me almost. And of course it's dropped, and that's allowed the gravel to come out from underneath. You can see that the footer I was talking about with the porch in
Correct.
this. Yeah, the floor is cracked away from the footer. Yeah, there. So I don't know what the rest of the commission thinks, but if that needed to be, removed, if you get in there and it's not stable, you might need to remove it and re-pour, but leave the foundations piers under the columns in place. I have seen that for many years. I don't live too far from this house, and that gravelly surface is the exact same stuff that's on, Sam, what's the address of the house that you redid on the, of?
630 East University. There's one about 2 doors down at like 615, 610 that has that Pebble dash on it still.
And that actually was made from brick from the brick courthouse that was taken down in Bloomington. Those 3 houses, and they were surfaced like this originally over the top because it was repurposed brick. And sometimes that really old brick like that is also a little bit soft. They don't have a hard surface like modern brick does. And if you look at the chimney has a hard surface exterior brick on it and is a darker color there. And I would think if the columns were like that, I doubt they would use 2 different colored bricks on the house. But I can't say that for sure because I don't have a picture of this house from, do we have the date of this house? Do we know when it was built?
I don't have the exact date. I estimate 1925.
Okay.
Did you have a question, Jenny? I think Sean might be a little confused if you had a question.
Yeah, so does he know if those are on separate piers and what he plans on doing with that monolithic step? He's not keeping the step. That's where he was going to put the dry stack. He's going to remove that concrete thing and put a planter or something there?
John?
That is correct. Actually, Connor, do you have the rough drawing that I gave you for the back?
Yeah.
It has the patio on it as well? Yes. So we're going to, basically, we had also proposed putting in the same type of patio in the back as how we're going to resurface the front porch, the rear porch, and the front walkway. The existing concrete steps will be removed behind. I'm not sure about the concrete walkways we planned on leaving intact. We were not going to replace those in the back. It's just not going to fit in our budget to redo all of the concrete. But the rear limestone steps are completely coming out with the retaining walls going in front, or we'll call them the planer beds going in front with the dry stack stone. More split, or if you guys want us to do just sawn fronts and sides of the limestone steps, we can do that as well too. But yes, we will be removing the rear steps that have completely failed and separated. We agree. But as far as the concrete, I'm not sure, and that's probably a good reason to get with Kevin Potter, is to see what he thinks with that. I'm confident in being able to go over everything is dry laid, so there won't be any mortar joints in. It's dry laid with a polymeric sand. So we can actually even move a little bit and it's not going to crack and break and do all that. But obviously we don't want significant movement, and that would be the reason for calling Kevin to see if those columns do need reinforced.
Well, my only concern was where that concrete has dropped away. I think that's what was keeping your aggregate underneath the porch floor. I think that was your dam. And when those shifted and freeze and thaw happened, I think you're losing, it looks like to me, when I zoom in, you're losing aggregate underneath that porch, and you might have to kind of dam it up a little bit. See that gap? Right-hand corner?
That'd be part of the new wall process.
You'll have to put something underneath there to hold that in.
Correct. We always everything is put in on a stone base, and then we actually backfill the walls with stone, compacted gravel.
Excellent. Thank you, Jenny. Renard, do you have any questions?
Just one. Could you go back to that drawing with that one right there? Is that the back of the house?
Yes.
And is 20 by 20 limestone patio? I'm just confirming I'm reading the right thing.
Yes.
Okay, because I don't recall hearing it mentioned when Connor was giving the description, so I may have missed it. Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Renard. Ernesto, do you have any, you just joined us. Did you happen to catch any of this, and do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Ernesto. I have one question, and that concerns the brick in the fireplace and the brick on the columns. Do we know if that is the same brick colors? And can we determine that the brick is from the same period?
As when we were taking the stucco off, it was kind of ripping the facing off. So I can't say for sure, but I don't think they are.
Thank you, Sean.
Sure.
Let's move on to comments. Chris?
Yes, I think this is a traditional way to build columns. And I'm almost certain they're original and that they were stuccoed from the beginning for the reasons Jenny said too. They're used as a base. So I think this is part of the distinction of this house, and really it needs to be recreated. We never would have given permission for this to happen. So it needs to be recreated. And then just out of respect for the smooth lines of the existing steps, even though the planters are changing, I would suggest that there be the steps out of smooth cut limestone. And the contrast between the stack and the smooth will be nice. and it'll have some respect for the simplicity of those original steps.
All right, thank you.
Oh, and on the staining, I think that there maybe should be some sampling of the stains by staff to try and recreate closely to this color instead of make it look like it's painted gray. It might want to have a wood tone that reflects that this was always a natural shingle. But I get that not having the super contrast between old and new and stained and unstained is desirable. So maybe I'd recommend staff approval of that stain color with an attempt to approximate an original brown or something, or the color that maybe is shown on the porch where it hasn't been weathered so badly.
Thank you, Chris. Deb?
No comments other than it's a gorgeous house to be working on and retaining its character.
Thank you. Susan?
No comment.
Sam?
I have a lot of comments. Yeah, this one, I'm pretty incensed by this one. There's no building permit on this one. This is a company that's been around Bloomington for a long time and knows there's a historic district.
There actually is. We filed for it almost 2 months ago, and for some reason it's in city's hands and they're not doing anything with it.
All right, but you usually don't go ahead and do demo before you got a permit if you want to be legal. That said, this house, I looked at the tax bill, and it's purported to have been built in 1910. And the houses Jenny was referring to over on University that was circa 1905. So I would side with Chris on whether the stucco was original. I do believe it is. I think the other piece here, which Chris started to talk about, was the simple lines of the steps. I don't feel we have enough information about the details of what's going on with where the planters start, stop, where there are steps, how they're transitioning from the bluestone tile to the dry stack planters. And I think that unless we know what's going on, it has a great potential to really undermine the simplicity and elegance of this house, which is outstanding. So I think we have a duty to be very, very careful with this one. So I want to see a lot more description of the construction methodology of how they're going to put together the bluestone planters and pavers. I don't take umbrage with the materiality of it. I more am concerned with the potential for striking a discordant note with a new, very present exterior addition. This is a corner house. It's going to be visible on all over the place. So I want to see exactly where the planters start and stop. I want to see exactly how high they are. I want to see exactly where the steps start and stop relative to the planters, how deep the planters are, where the transition to the walkway. This little sketch is not going to do it for me on this house. I know on some houses we'll let that go, but I'm not willing to do that for this one. I also think that I looked in the guidelines, and I don't know that we have any purview over color. Is that fair, Connor?
Correct.
So, I mean, they can basically do what they want to as far as how these things are colored, and if they're replacing material in kind, it's going to be hard as heck to match the color. And I respect that they're trying to do the original materials and replace that. It's going to be difficult. I'll support that as best I can. But for the columns, I want to see the stucco come back. And for the stairs and the planters, I want to see much more elaborate documentation of what they're planning to do before we approve anything.
Thank you, Sam. Renard?
I support Sam's point in that I don't think that sketch in ink is sufficient. I had a problem figuring out what it was trying to represent. And I think we need a lot more information before, to get a better idea what's going on. So.
Thank you, Bernard. Ernesto?
Yes, I agree. There has to be a much more detailed drawings, how exactly things are going to be put back together. This is a beautiful house and it's in a great shape. And I think it deserves to be really pay attention to every little detail. And yes, I agree completely. That's all.
All right, thank you, Ernesto. And I'm in agreement with my fellow commissioners about this property. I think we need more details about what's going on. And I think we also we need to replace the stucco and materials that were there in place before. So,
Public comment?
do we have any public comments?
I'd like to make a comment. I know I did a lot of questions.
Oh, I didn't get
that I would like to comment that we really need to see a plan for that patio too in the back that's fully visible before it's included in a C of A. I saw it was in the sketch and stuff. So I just want to remind the builder rehabber that we will need to see something on that. And also I want to comment that some of the trim on the upper part of the south side obviously need to be replaced. So you might put that in there too. The bottom of those windows are rotted out, it looks like, on the exterior trim.
Right.
I have one more comment.
Hang on,
All right.
When Jenny's done.
I'm done. I just noted that and if there's any original lighting, I can't really tell on these porches and I didn't really look for it. There might be some original lighting now, but if he puts in new lighting that's not original, we also need to see that. So I was just kind of bringing him up to speed if he's not used to working with historic districts, that he needs to include those things.
And Jenny, let me follow up with you. Sean did submit the request for the patio on the back in his COA. That's just not something I remember to include in the initial report. So that is part of his COA. It was my bad. And then, if he is going to replace, some trim around the windows, if he replaces in kind, he doesn't need a COA for that.
Terrific.
So I'm thinking about the covering of the porch, and I'm thinking this concrete must have been original. And I'm looking at the shingle line at the bottom and thinking, would you just butt up against that? And concrete people can microtop and repair, concrete like this. I'm not sure that these steps aren't part of the architectural intent. I think we should think about that porch. I think we should allow this to come back.
All right, thank you, Chris. So we need a motion.
The move to continue COA 21-03 so that the owner can come back with additional information.
Second.
Okay.
D.
Sam DeSaller,
Yep.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Jeff Golden,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaugh.
Yes.
All right.
Motion carries 7-0.
So
Can I chime in at all?
Yeah, Sean, do you have any further questions about,
I'm trying to figure out what we can do. We are on a time frame here, and I have a landscape company, and a lot of this is, some of it's cosmetic. The steps are in complete failure. There's no way to put those back together. And what I'm afraid is because the next meeting is going to be in February.
No, 2 weeks from today.
Oh, 2 weeks. Okay, that's not a big deal. Okay.
Do you have any questions about what they're asking for though, Sean?
So basically, I don't know what else to do with the drawing. The drawing's going to be the front, actually the front and the rear. The retaining walls are only coming up to deck level, so to patio level. and they're coming 3 foot off. I mean, I don't know what to do there any different. So all we're trying to do is hide that front concrete facade there and bring it up to deck level. So basically they'll be 3 foot off of the front, 3 foot off in the back. The front stairs will be lined up exactly with the existing walkway. So there's not, I don't know what else I can really do there. I mean, we can scratch the patio if that's a big issue. That's something that we may or may not do. If you all just want to take it off of there, you know, we can take that. If you feel like I need to, I just don't know how to describe the walls any differently, I guess. But
I want to see a plan that's dimensioned, which shows where the patio floor starts and stops, where the stairs start and stop, where the planter starts and stop, how deep the planter is, how far it comes out from the front of the house, how wide the planter wall is. That's just on the plan, right? So we can't tell any of that from this drawing.
Sam, what would you think of a mock-up of the planter and maybe even the stone covering, just so we could actually see it?
That'd be great. I'm glad to do that.
I'm happy to do that. I won't be able to look at it before February, though.
I'll do both. I'll do a mock-up for you guys of the patio, a mock-up of the walls, and then I'll also basically do a drawing for you guys. How's that?
Great.
That way you can physically see it.
Fantastic.
Does that work? With the color, guys, because I need to start talking to somebody about what to do with this exterior, since that seems like that falls outside the guidelines. Is that if we're replacing like with like as much as possible, and I will get with Connor and show him our options for replacement of the cedar. Can we do that stain?
Yeah, that's fine. There was no qualms about that, Sean.
Okay, I don't want to make another misstep, I guess. So
we appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay. Demolition delay?
Nope.
No demolition delay?
No, this is what I sent you guys the other day. This is the revised agenda. This is COA 2104. This is a property that we've seen last in October of 2020, 208 East 15th Street, the Garden Hill Historic District. Susan Rudd, I believe, is here. She's the petitioner. She contacted me early in the week and said they've hit a few snags with this project. So I kind of wanted to get this in front of you guys as quick as possible. First and foremost, the limestone retaining wall that was in front of the house, I guess, fell over or was destroyed or something happened to that. And a limestone retaining wall is something that you see a lot in this district when the grade requires it. You see a lot in McDowell as well, and actually most historic districts would have some kind of limestone retaining wall. We have steeper grades in front of the house, so that has been removed. So one of the requests is to remove the limestone retaining wall, though it's already been removed. It would be retroactive. Then another one is to use interior grids on the sides. So they're replacing the windows on the sides, and they want to use interior grids because applied grids, which the original COA was for, are going to take about 3 months to get in. So she wants to do those now, and she wants interior grids so she can get those windows put in, next week instead of 3 months from now. And then the last one is the construction of a brick step wall capped with limestone. Originally, this was flanking they were going to have called a knee wall or a step wall on either side of the front steps here. But now they want to move it here in front of the walkway steps off of the sidewalk. And I don't have that drawing on there for you guys. It should be in your packet. Susan made a beautiful drawing for us to see.
I've got it, Connor. I can show you in a sec.
Okay, yeah, so that's the request. So take it away.
All right, Susan. Additional information?
Yes. So the limestone wall, I don't know if you have, Connor, pictures of what it looked like before. As you can see in that picture there, on the left-hand side, one of the stones had already fallen off. And on the right-hand side, although you can't see it in this photo, it was leaning very severely toward the sidewalk. And when the guys went to pull out some of the roots that you see there, where there were some old bushes, the one on the right-hand side that was leaning so far out fell. So they took off the limestone just because it was falling down and they didn't want it to be a hazard there. We still have it. That's when I called Connor and said, we got to figure out something else to do here because this fell down. So I was hoping that we could use the red brick that we had proposed for up closer to the porch to make a little brick retaining wall there on the corners of the steps to kind of, be a little bit of a holdback for that yard. We're going to slope it down. It's not a terribly high slope. We can slope it down really gradually to the sidewalk. And then I figured if we could put in those brick kind of wing walls there on either side of the steps. And I'll pull up that picture here. Let me get that for you.
Okay.
1 second.
I don't know how I don't have it. I swear I put it in here.
That's okay. I've got it here.
I'll stop the share here.
So I just need to share my screen with you, right?
Yeah. Let me give you capabilities to do that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So let me pull this in front here. Hold on just a second. If I can. You guys can't see that, can you?
No.
Okay, hold on 1 second here. Pull that down and pull this up here. Maybe. There we go. Okay. That's the old one. Hold on just a second. Let me pull the other one up.
Still haven't shared a screen, Susan. We're still looking at the base.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me try it again here. You see anything yet?
No.
No? Can you see that yet?
Don't see anything.
Okay.
Let me, I can look, it's in my email. I can just pop it up and look at it. Here.
Okay.
Let me check.
Sorry, it should be able to share, but it's giving me some error messages here. So sorry about that. Anyway, it was not our intention to take that retaining wall down at all. We were going to just try to shore it up and leave it in place. But having had that happen, we are trying to incorporate more of that brick that I wanted to bring in up closer to the steps to the front porch in this area and make it, feel like some of the original photos that we showed last time where they had some brick around the base of those columns. So that's my attempt to bring that in. So you've got it now. So yeah, from the sidewalk as it comes out, there's a step down off of the main patio and the sidewalk comes out to the last 3 steps right before the sidewalk along the street. And the intent would be to make a 2 or 3 brick wide, about 18-inch wide by 32 high with either a limestone cap or a concrete cap on the top of it that goes all the way back to that sidewalk, extends back to the house. And then with regard to the windows, we had fully intended to do exterior grids, but as Connor mentioned, when trying to get them, I don't know if any of you have experienced that as well, but there's some long lead times on windows right now. So we found the same, yeah, there you go. You can see pretty well there. We found the same grid pattern, but it would be between the panes on the side and back so that we can get them next week instead of, we're not sure when we could get the other ones. So that was the other issue.
All right, thank you very much, Susan. All right, Chris, questions?
Yeah, the wall is unfortunate. It looks like a decision got made on what to do about the wall without consulting us, and that. But I do understand a lot of these, when these fail, people do make a little hill that comes down, I used to mow a lot of them as a kid. So I understand the issue there. I just want to hear from other members of the commission on that wall. It's unfortunate to lose it.
All right, thank you, Chris. Jeff?
I'm going to abstain from this COA as I just did an appraisal on this property.
All right, thank you, Chris. Yeah. I'm sorry, thank you, Jeff. Susan? Dyer?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that wall as well, and I feel like changing that out would be really changing the nature of the original piece. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Susan. Sam?
Questions?
Questions?
No. This, do we have any feedback from the neighborhood?
No.
Thank you.
That's all I got. Thanks.
Ernesto?
No, no questions at this time. Thank you.
Jenny? Okay. Renard?
Wait,
No
I was muted. Yeah, I was wondering what happened to the limestone? I mean, where did it go when it fell down?
It's still there. It's still there. They just took it, down the sidewalk. So they took it and put it in a container that's still there on the property.
Okay. Well, the stone looks in fairly good shape. It wouldn't be that hard to put it back up. It looks like it's split face stone, which is typical of the area. So
There's as you can see across the street, there's a concrete block one to the right there, Connor. If you go back the other way, the two on either side of it look like limestone. But the contractor said that he did not think he would be able to put it back. It's just too damaged and broken. But he said that obviously if we needed to, we would put back a retaining wall. But the limestone, you can't tell in these photos because it's not real close up, but it was in pretty bad shape.
Okay, thank you. Renard?
No questions.
So the limestone that we still have saved, is it severely damaged when it was taken out, or can some of it be reused?
Say that again.
Can it be reused, the limestone that you saved?
Well, I'm not an expert on this, but my contractor said that he does not think he can rebuild it with that limestone just because of the way that it was cracked and fell apart. He just felt like he probably would try to put something new back, whether it be limestone or whatever you guys wanted to do, rather than trying to recreate it with that stone.
Thank you, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's move on. Do we have any questions from the public? Okay, let's move on to our comments. Chris?
Yeah, the houses on either side actually have a continuous wall.
There, can I say something?
Yeah, absolutely, Susan.
Okay, there are breaks in it because when that fell down, I went and looked, and there's a break on the house on the left-hand side and the right both. They were not continuous, but yes, I get your point, Chris, that I just wanted you to know they were not actually connected to each other. They were separate pieces.
But they're touching.
Yes, they were touching, yeah.
Yeah. Difficult to put back, but not impossible, and could even be lower because of the wall to the right and left. Well, no, it has to keep on.
Yeah, it slopes through there.
Yeah, my comment is the wall's pretty important there in that facade. That's my comment.
All right, thank you, Chris. Jeff? You're abstaining. Deb? Any comments, Deb?
My comment is that I think the retaining wall is critical to the neighborhood, especially that strip view of the and view of the whole house and landscape. So I think the retaining wall as it was needs to be rebuilt with either new or old brick, old limestone, but it does need to be rebuilt.
All right, thank you, Deb. I mean, thank you.
Deb,
Yes. Susan?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add.
All right, thank you. Sam?
This is a contributing house, so it's my response is tempered based on that. I would much rather, on the windows, I'd much rather see no grids than grids within the glass. You know, it's a contributing house. I think it's the bigger unfortunate thing here is the retaining wall, and whatever comes back here, it's got to be limestone. I don't want to see brick going there. That's not characteristic of what goes on in the neighborhood. And no, a lot of these walls do fail because they don't properly drain them. You have to dig back and put in gravel and, you know, put in weep holes and all that. And, you know, a lot of the sort of shade tree masons you see going through the neighborhoods put them back exactly up like they were before. They just cut the dirt, stick them back up. They're going to have the same problem in another 10, 20 years. So if it does go back up, you know, bear that in mind. But asking the owner to put everything all back up the way it was is a little bit hard because it's just a contributing house. But it's a big piece of the, you know, the continuity of the neighborhood was ripped out without permission, and that doesn't make me happy.
All right, thank you, Sam. Renard?
No comment. Well, no new comment.
Thank you. Ernesto?
Yes, I agree that with proper installation, that wall should go back up. It should be limestone, should be well drained with weep holes, like it was mentioned. Yes, I mean it's part of the house, not only the structure of the house, but of the whole wall component too. So yeah, I mean it is hard to ask that, but I think it needs to go back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernesto. And I'm in agreement. I think the limestone wall needs to be put back as it was. And that's my only comment.
Just to be clear here, and I want to point out that this is just a raw 6x6. You know, they're going to put the columns shell around that, so this is unfinished. You know, they're not going to be square posts or anything like that. They're going to be columns. I didn't hear any objection to building the little brick walls to either side of the front steps. Just wanted to remind the HPC that's still part of the application.
I was trying to object to that when I said whatever goes back needs to be limestone.
Correct, yes.
Right.
And it's really part of the wall. It just turns into it.
Okay. All right. Would somebody make a submission?
Deny everything, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Except for the windows.
Right.
I agree with Sam that the windows, I'd rather see blank than false grids inside the glass. So I think we could approve the windows without grids and the rest denied. And with the request to reuse the limestone, because those walls are rough and they could get some replacement, but they can really use most of it. There's capstone that's really easy to identify, but that's just guidance for putting the wall back.
Okay. So Chris, are you gonna make a submission?
Oh, should I make that into a motion?
Yes, please.
I move that we accept the windows, alternative windows without grids, that we deny the change to the wall, and we request that all stone that can be reused in the rebuilding of the wall.
Okay.
For demo delay 2101.
Thank you.
COA 21.
This is COA 2104. It's not on our agenda. They gotta have it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Dee. Thank you.
DeSaller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Jeff Golden,
Abstain.
Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0-1.
And Susan, I'll call you tomorrow and we can discuss what to do moving
Okay.
forward.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. You're doing a
Bye.
good job, Susan.
Well, thank you. And I'm sorry that this thing came down. You know how that goes. Something falls and then it gets taken down before I ever got there. So
Yeah, we know.
yeah, I'm unhappy about it too. Thank you guys.
We're sorry we had to say this.
Yeah.
I know. It's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Let's move on to demolition delay. And demo delay 2101, 800 South Pleasant Ridge Road. And they were before us before.
Yeah, this one came before us in 2019 for actually this addition that you can see here in the photograph. So this is an outstanding structure, and the petitioner is actually Rusty Peterson, not Stasny and Horn. It's a partial demo, the removal of a door and creation of several new window openings and a new door in the south elevation of the building. Staff would recommend releasing demo delay 2101. The changes are not visible from the public right away and are substantially less invasive than the changes released by the HPC in 2019. I think that's an important point. Let me show you what we're talking about here. So I was incorrect. You can see it from the public right away. It's here. This is the south. This is the proposed south elevation. So to really see what they're doing, I guess you can look at this. And everything I have in red. The green is going to be the new door, and the red are going to be the new windows on the south elevation. So this is the only changes to the exterior there. And because we're changing window openings on an outstanding structure and we're moving doors, that's considered a partial demolition. So that's why it's coming to the HPC.
All right. Rusty, are you with us?
Do we have a representative of the petition here? We don't have to do business, but just checking.
If Rusty is not here, this is Leslie Noggle with Susan Yaley Homes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, Leslie.
Hi.
Hello.
Do you have anything to add to that, Leslie?
Not necessarily. This is a great couple who grew up in Bloomington. They live in New York City right now, but this is going to be their forever home away from home to come back and visit and hang out with family. The main reason for these changes is to get more light in their living room, rearrange the kitchen a little bit more, remove one of the two exterior doors on that side. And otherwise, that's what you see.
All right, thank you, Leslie.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions, Chris?
Yeah, is there a precedent for the light color of the windows? Looks like most of them in the rest of the house are dark.
So that rendering is by our landscape designer. So I think the windows are probably still going to be black with the black siding.
Okay, thank you.
Which is existing. Yep.
Jeff, any questions?
No.
Terrific. Susan?
No.
Sam?
In the packet, it's got sheets A1 and A2, and it's got this massive window schedule. Does this mean that every single window and door in the place is going to be replaced? It's a little bit difficult to tell.
They will be replaced. They're all pretty crummy and original. And some of the windows are in the bedrooms are not egress size, so we're definitely going to increase those. So yes, we are replacing all.
And so what is the current material of the existing windows, and what are you proposing to put in their place?
That's a good question. I believe they'll be wood. They currently are wood, I think, and they'll come back with nice new wood windows.
We got wood. We're all happy. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sam. Jenny?
Yeah, I had a question. It's unclear by your drawing whether the tint or reflectiveness to the windows. The original windows are clear. Can you tell me about that?
They'll be clear.
Be clear.
Yes.
Okay. And also, it looked like you were putting a couple of skylights in the roof. Can you tell me if those are visible from the street and what kind of skylights they are?
They will not be visible. They're on angles that are kind of towards the back of the house. And they'll be flush, fixed skylights.
Okay. All right. They looked pointed on top in the drawing, the rendering.
Oh, that just indicates that it's a skylight. It's an opening.
Okay. That's why I was making sure that we were having little glass pyramids on the roof and not.
Yeah, nope, none of those.
Okay.
Bernard?
No questions.
All righty. And Ernesto?
Yes. Hi, Leslie. I just have one question regarding the windows. You are in fact replacing all the windows. Is that what you guys are doing?
Yes, we are, Ernesto.
All
Hi.
of them. Hi. Do you know by any chance the manufacturer of the window? Are they going to be aluminum clad on the exterior or just wood on the inside?
I would have to confirm with Rusty on that. He's been getting the quotes done for us.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yep, that is actually important. That's why I was asking the question earlier, because an aluminum clad window is even if it's wood on the inside, is a very different proposition than just a wood window.
Right.
Well, I will add that, while I appreciate y'all's questions and your due diligence, and it may be useful information for the petitioner moving forward, this is a demo delay, and unless they're changing the size of the window opening, it's not actually under our purview. If they're just replacing the windows with different type or manufacturer of a window, then we don't really have much say about that in this demolition delay.
I see. So Connor, the ones that we have jurisdiction, I guess, are those that are being changed in size, right? Which you indicated in your plan.
Yes.
Okay. So with that, we should be able to know what the components of those windows are, right? If they're aluminum clad, if they're all wood. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you can certainly ask that question, but I think if the petitioner doesn't have that answer, it wouldn't be grounds for.
Okay, no, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ernesto. So let's move on to comments.
So John, I'm still here. I didn't ask me questions last time either.
Sorry, Deb. I'm getting lightheaded with this mask on. Good, Deb. Yes. Questions?
So just for Connor, as what is in our purview, it's literally doesn't matter how many windows that are not visible from the public way. The only windows we have purview to are these, because the windows are changing size and they're visible, excuse me, from the public way. Correctly?
Well, that's partially correct, Deb. Actually, I was reading the code to make sure I was correct in this, and perhaps Philippa, who's our legal representative, can correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't think, even if it's not visible from the public right away, it is still under our purview on a demolition delay review. So if they were to, wall in a door on the rear of the house that's not visible from the public right away, that's still considered the, alteration of an opening on the building, which is still defined as partial demolition.
Okay,
So we would still
So,
do that.
Connor,
thank you.
our choice is now release the permit or not. That's all.
Correct. We're not doing design review. We're not, deciding whether we want this type of window or that type of window. We're speculating purely on whether we want to continue the demo delay for longer to get more information about it, or release it to let the permit go forward, or we can move forward with designation and have that conversation.
We couldn't conditionally approve it based on wood exterior windows, or we would have to just wait to see what is proposed.
You can't conditionally, you're not approving anything, Chris, you're just releasing a permit.
Right.
But we can't condition that release to a type of window or something like that.
You cannot do that.
No.
No, I'm weighing in. It's Philippa. Connor's correct.
Hey, Connor, it's Leslie again.
Yes.
I just got information from our builder. They are all wood.
Okay, great.
Exterior and interior, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, that makes it easy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, shall we move to approve the demolition delay?
Read it.
All right. Today, regarding the property located at 800 South Pleasant Ridge Road, the Historic Preservation Commission declares that it got notice of proposed demolition, and after today's discussion, sees no need to review the plans any further, and waives the rest of demolition waiting period. The HPC may take the property for historic preservation to the Common Council. Okay.
Sorry.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes. Yes. Does it come through?
Yes.
yes. Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Jeff Golden,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes,
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 700.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to new business.
So I sent everybody an email. Barbara McKinney is typed up some new conflict of interest forms. I got those out to you guys. We need them back because we need them every year. So if you haven't done so already, please email the filled out form to Barbara. I believe her email was on the form as well. So just wanted to remind you guys to do that, because she's going to start nagging me if they don't come in by the end of the month. So I wanted to nag you a little bit.
All right, thank you, Connor. I got mine in, by the way. So we're up to item B, to elect the 21 chair and vice chair for this coming session. There have been,
Yeah, I sent out the email, and it looks like there is 2 people interested in being chair. That was Jeff Golden and John Saunders. So Sam did say that if absolutely necessary, he would be vice chair, but I don't think that will be necessary, because I feel whoever's not chair between John and Jeff could certainly be vice chair. So Sam, you may be saved. So yeah, thanks for getting back to me, you guys. And you've changed your mind and you want to be chair or vice chair, speak up now. Now's the time to do it at the meeting. So we need to have a vote and essentially elect the chair and vice chair for 2021.
all right.
Any additional candidates? I don't hear anything. Okay.
Could we get comments on the 2 of them? Who wants to be vice, who wants to be chair? Is there a difference?
There's not.
I'm willing to serve either way.
Same thing. Okay,
Anybody have any other comments, thoughts on that before, or else I'm gonna just make a motion. It's got to be done.
We could flip a coin.
We could have them arm wrestle.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I move Jeff take a turn.
I'll second.
D?
Hey, Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Jeff Golden,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I move that John Saunders be vice chair.
Yes. Second.
All right, Dee.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Jeff Golden,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
This would be a good time. Could I say what a good job John has done? And he can run for president next year.
Second that.
Thank you.
Was excellent, John.
Hey, you know, I'm so lucky to have such a great commission, great members. I appreciate all the things that everybody does. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. All right. Any commissioner comments?
I have one.
All
This
right.
might even be a legal question, but we have now waived demo delay for that project. They told us that they would have wood windows outside and inside. What legally happens if they decide to just do vinyl windows now?
Well, again, you don't have purview over the materials. It was just you deny the demo or you approve it.
But they publicly said what they were going to do, which conditioned our approval. We
I don't-
approved based on that.
No, you
based on
didn't.
that.
You didn't condition it.
No, they conditioned it with a public statement. That's been a past interpretation. And this is new interpretation that they could tell us anything and lie about it and do something else. I don't think they will, but I think when they make a public commitment at this meeting, that becomes binding. We didn't make them make that public commitment, but they did. And I think you should think that legally, because we did condition a decision based on their comment and their proposal.
Well, I wouldn't say that you conditioned it. I don't think you did. And I think there were enough votes. If you are saying you would have voted to deny, I think there was a quorum of votes released the demo delay. But you know what? Connor and I will talk about it.
Yeah, it's been a past decision by different legal consultants to the commission that when someone publicly makes a commitment, that becomes their commitment. We can't ask them to do that necessarily, but if they do voluntarily say, this is what we're going to do, they have committed to that. It's a really different proposal if they said, we're going to do all vinyl windows with grids in this house. And what you're saying is, of course they could. And what I'm saying is, no, we literally did decide. Many of the votes were because they committed themselves to wood exterior and interior. So I believe that's a legal commitment. When they make it a public statement, it'll be in our minutes. And we literally did decide based on their commitment. If they would say, I'm going to do any windows I want to, now give me approval, we might say that's not protecting an important historic structure to just give them carte blanche. So I believe there's a real strong legal argument that they have made a commitment publicly. And I would like to just make that point.
Okay, we will look at it.
Request that you review that, because otherwise, I don't think the whole commission said anything you want to that property by waiving that demo delay. I don't believe it would have passed if they'd said, we're not going to tell you what we're going to do. We're not going to tell you what windows we're going to use. Give us one or go fish. You know, That wasn't their proposal.
Okay, we'll review that, Chris.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. Any public comments? Any announcements? All right, let's adjourn.